Hello everyone. Welcome to Networking Relationship Building for a Creative Job Search with Sabrina Woods. My name is Rebecca Wright. I'm the Acting Director of Career Development at MassArt, and I'm going to introduce my team, Meg
Hi, I'm Meg Gatterman. I'm the Student Outreach Manager at Career Development.
and Darlene.
Hi, everyone. I'm Darlene Gillen. I'm the Alumni Relations Director here at MassArt.
And then lastly, I will introduce Sabrina. I'll just give you all a little bit of information about Sabrina. Sabrina is an experienced career coach, trainer, and speaker. Leveraging her infectious enthusiasm and passion for connecting the dots, she uses holistic and mindfulness-based practices to help clients achieve greater clarity and alignment around what's important to facilitate greater resilience, fulfillment, and career success. So she's going to be giving a presentation about networking, and this is an interactive presentation. I invite you all, just at least for the start of the session, to turn on your cameras, just so we can kind of see each other as we kind of get comfortable. And I will turn it over to Sabrina.
All right, Rebecca, Darlene, Meg, thank you so much for having me. And I have gotten a chance to do this type of workshop a couple of times, kind of an annual come back and hang out with MassArt students and alums. And the last couple of times we did this, we had such sort of vibrant conversations. So while I'm taking the lead here, I want to just remind you that even if you feel like you don't have a whole lot of networking skills, I bet you do. So I'm going to really encourage a lot of sharing and give you opportunities in breakout rooms to share as well. Now, there's two things that are going to be happening tonight. One is that we're talking about networking and relationship building skills. And part two is that we're in the moment doing networking. So think of this as a practice pod, a place where you can mess up, a place where you can just relax and just be yourself. It's a small group, and we want you to get the most you can out of it. But that's going to also include you getting to know a few more people tonight, and maybe even connecting with them on LinkedIn and even having conversations after this. So twofold goal for tonight. Okay. So to kind of warm us up and to start kind of getting into that mode of networking, I would love for you to pop in your location, and you might be right on campus in this moment, or you could be in Florida. I mean, who knows, where you can be anywhere in this moment. Maybe you went away for a long weekend. Anyway, so also a hobby or an interest, just something beyond work and academics, because that's a nice point for us to also feel a sense of connection. A lot of times if you're at a networking event, that's what happens, is you sort of like you connect with somebody on something on the side, not the thing that you do for a living or the thing you're studying. It's where we build our bridges. For alums, put in your current job title or industry. For students, put yourself in there as what you're targeting. Well, you can say aspiring XYZ, or you can just say, illustrator or graphic designer or what have you. This is the job, or job target is, so that we know where you're going next, because we really want to support you in multiple ways with where you're going next. Okay, and some of the alums may be in transition. They may be, thinking about what's next or currently needing a new position. So lots of different situations. You've already gotten a little bit of an introduction from me. I want you to know there's also some resources at sabrina-woods.com, including enhanced ways to use LinkedIn, things about informational interviews and questions to ask. We're going to cover some of that, but those extra handouts are going to be a great resource to you on the resources page there. If you'd like to connect with me on LinkedIn, you can also grab that QR code. We're going to give you an opportunity later to connect with everyone too. So know that we're, again, really trying to help you feel like a connected cohort tonight. All right. Later, we're going to have you drop your LinkedIn profile into a Google Sheet. So you might want to open that up. You might want to also grab those handouts that we sent, that Meg sent an email. Okay. If possible, maybe you'd be willing to turn your camera on for part of tonight, or at least in the breakout rooms. To have some fun, I put a picture of my niece and my brother, all dressed up in the corner just to make you laugh. Yes, that is my niece and my brother acting really silly. They don't know that they're famous right now either. So don't tell them. And my brother's a college professor, so I think it'd be kind of fun if that leaked out. I just won't tell you where. Anyway, let's keep going. But if you're willing to put your camera on, we all get to feel a little bit more connected, even if it's just for this first part. But I'm going to pop it back over to Rebecca to have us share out a couple of your hobbies and locations, just picking a few from what's jumping into chat. And we'd love to have you keep adding that information. Keep adding questions at any point as well. We really want to make this fun and interesting and beneficial for you. Okay.
Sure.
Rebecca, yeah.
We have Pamela, who's in Chelsea, whose hobby is exercising, an alum and graphic designer. We have Sam, who's in Taunton, whose hobby is cooking and is in graphic UI design. Sophia, Boston area hiking, gallery management. Let's see if I can find a few more if you haven't popped one in. Trying to get a cross section of people. Brea's in Portland. Hobby is reading and she's a painter. I don't know. I think those are the few I
Those are
see.
great. I'm even gonna say, for the person that said exercise and cooking and reading, add one more little bit of detail, because you might discover, oh, this other person likes that same kind of exercise. And tonight, my partner is making a East Indian eggplant curry, and I can actually smell some of the spices. It's making me really hungry. So it'd be really fun if the person that said cooking, what kind of cooking do you like to do? So again, this is just, we're here to actually make those connections and also help you get kind of used to sharing some of those maybe more detailed things, because that kind of can create some stories or can create a more interesting conversation when you're at a live networking event, right? So just kind of leading us in that way. Okay. Now, a little tiny bit more fun is I want to ask you how you're doing today. A couple people in there. So you don't get to use the emoji, but you might be able to express, hey, are you feeling the stress of the world right now? Are you nervous about job search? Are you doing okay? Did you enjoy the sunshine today? You can have words on there or drawings. You can add in colors by hitting the different color keys here. Color box. I think it's, especially with, anyone that has an artistic background, it's nice to have a moment of self-expression. Like, I see this like a little shoulder shrug cartoon character going, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know about what's happening in the world, or I don't know about next steps, or man, wild ride right now. So I'm glad this was still working. I'm going to give us just another moment. We have lots of time tonight. We have an hour and a half. Again, I'm wondering, you can even add into chat, how many of you use some kind of artistic expression as your outlet to manage stress? I bet that this can be free when you free form and you don't have an assignment or it's not for work. I bet many of you, if you want to add into chat, I'm curious if this kind of thing helps related to stress. Okay, we'll give it one more moment. I so appreciated that. Okay, I think I can leave it there, and I'll go back to sharing the PowerPoint slides. Thank you for that. That made my day. I'm so thrilled we could switch over really quickly and make this work. Okay. I'm gonna continue over. Let's see. Let me go back into, now it's giving me different options here. Okay. Just double checking that you all can see that original artwork. Yeah, back to PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I've had times where I've been sharing slides thinking I was sharing them and I wasn't. So it's always good to check. So what we're doing tonight is we're talking about how to build career connections. And I really want to emphasize that this isn't just transactional. This isn't just, oh, here, I'm going to help you. Will you help me? Or can I just make this one ask? It's not this just one moment kind of thing. I want you to think of it more as relational, as building these connections that you may help somebody this year, they may help you 2 years from now. You may see them at an event or professional association. You may see them on LinkedIn. You may wish them a happy birthday because you happen to see that on Facebook. So it's like, think of this as ongoing and building. So I'm a big advocate of doing networking kind of all the time, rather than just when you need a job, right? So quick story, because I think stories are really fun. This woman, Michelle Roque-Cray, was actually teaching something at the Harvard Ed portal. This is a while back. And she said, I'm looking for somebody who might be a LinkedIn trainer. And then Michael Iceland, one of my first level connections, said, oh, I know a LinkedIn trainer named Sabrina Woods. Here's her contact information. And then I ended up meeting Michelle and running several programs at the Harvard Ed portal. All because someone remembered me, all because I've stayed in touch. I've seen this person on LinkedIn, especially this person, Michael. So, yes, this is an example of me landing a job for a training opportunity or a speaking opportunity, but the same thing goes for how we work within job search, right? So this is just a micro example. Another quick example, just from my own life, is I saw someone post in a LinkedIn group this particular job, and I knew Vicky, the one who posted it, and I thought, oh, this would be perfect for Jen. So I told Vicky about Jen. Jen applied to the job and ended up landing the job. So I was this go-between, all because I happened to notice that this position was open, and I thought of this other person. So my networking philosophy is, how can I help? So I really want you to think about that when you're in a moment, whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's an Instagram, whether it's a networking event, professional association meeting, or tonight, thinking about how you can help, you become memorable. And I think this also is a better way to be in the world, but it really does make a difference when we're helping others, we become known to them. All right. So as I mentioned earlier, we want to do actual networking today, but we also want to talk about, well, why should I bother? We're going to do an icebreaker in just a minute, and we're going to talk about different types of networking. And then we're going to shift into events. We're going to give you a moment to work on your pitch, your kind of how would you introduce yourself, and help you be strategic about how do you grow that network? How do you meet new people? Sound good? I'm going to pretend you all gave me the thumbs up. All right, let's do it. So let's define networking first. So I kind of already said it, but these are long-term professional relationships. But you could be sharing trends in your industry. Okay, it could be ideas. It could be brainstorming together. And then the other thing is that this is giving you such a great opportunity in your own industry to grow and learn from each other. And it's also a way to find out about volunteer opportunities or job opportunities. They just come up. Okay, why does it matter? A lot of career coaches will use this number of 70%. That's a big amount too, right? 70% of people will say that another human was somehow involved in their job search process for when they landed. They might have been directly involved, like, oh, I've got a connection at that company, or they could have been like, I think you should try this professional association, etc. But people are such an integral part of you landing a job that we want to be really proactive with it. So this is your chance to kind of practice chatting with other people, get to know people a little bit deeper. We're going to do something called networking bingo. Bingo is a pretty old-fashioned term that could be people in there going, what's that? We'll walk you through it. And in a few minutes, we'll put you in a breakout room with 5 or 6 other people and give you a chance to play for like 10 minutes. I'm going to be curious to find out if anybody got bingo. Oops. How did your group do? Did you get it? Bingo? Did you go across diagonal? I'm just
Yeah,
chatting
we did.
informally.
We got, I think in 2 columns, we got.
I got bingo twice. Nice. Did you have some overlap in your group? Like, oh, I speak 2 languages and you do too, or any particular squares that were like really popular? Some of them were.
I think
Okay.
chocolate was the most popular square in our
Chocolate
group.
was the most popular. Oh, that's great. That was Yeah, that I love chocolate. I had to put it on there. How about for group number 2? Was chocolate popular? I'm just curious.
Yeah,
Yes,
that may have the most names.
that may have the
Well,
most.
that
Yeah.
and going to museums and art exhibits.
Was up there. Yes. Awesome. Um, but now I'm curious, and you can put into chat, I'm being very silly, but dark chocolate or milk chocolate? Someone else is going to say, well, I like white chocolate with almonds. But if you feel like saying how you like your chocolate, I actually like mine with roasted coconut, dark chocolate with roasted coconut.
That sounds good.
So if you
Mm.
feel like it, I know I'm gonna make you want to eat something and it's the middle of dinner hour, but group 1 got bingo twice. How did group 2 do? Did you get bingo once?
I believe so,
Okay,
at least once.
at least once. Okay,
Yeah, if not twice.
if not twice,
Yeah,
great.
I
So
think maybe twice, yeah.
nice, easy, quick way to sort of see where you connect and get to know people. So I'm going to go back into like 2 slides, and then I'm going to send you on another mission. And then that's the last breakout room. And I'll even say after that, if you need a break from the cameras being on, we'll turn them off and give you a break. Then I'll go through some slides, and I've got some more exercises for us to do more a little more individually. But so let me go back into the share, pick up from here. I'm so glad you were willing to do that exercise, the bingo. Let me just move my screen around here for a second. And I just asked you this verbally, so it's great that you were able to have that happen. All right, so now I want to talk about types of networking. How do you meet new people? Well, this is a group event, so this is a perfect example. It could also be through your everyday activities. Like when I was living in Boston, or working in Boston, I was on a Boston Ski and Sports volleyball team. I met so many people through volleyball. That was my activity. Now there's also these things called informational interviews. A little later, I'll find out if you've done those before. And then social media, especially, the boring one, LinkedIn. Okay. So the idea with networking is you might start out with your friends, your family, maybe a current or former colleague if you had a part-time job, or if you're an alum, or you meet somebody at a professional association. And then the idea is these are like, oh, now I have a new contact, or I officially do an informational interview from somebody I met at that professional association. And then maybe I do an informational interview from that new contact I made. And so, it just can grow and grow and grow. And that's what we're going to be hoping for you. And I'm not just thinking about your next job, I'm thinking about your next 3 jobs. That's where my mind goes whenever I'm teaching networking and relationship building. We all know in the artistic fields, I think it even becomes more important. There might be fewer roles for the niche area that you're really after and you're really excited about. So again, this networking is going to be that important element. Okay, here's what I'm going to send you on your next mission. We're going to go hopefully into the same groups if Meg can set it up that way. If it ends up being different, that's fine too. But what I want you to think about is, what are your networking ideas? So there's going to be 2 questions. One will be, how do you do it? Like, are there certain tips that you can give each other, you could bring back into the mix about how? Or there could be where. And this is where it could get interesting, like, oh, have you ever heard of this group or that group, or here, this website, or that. So it's the how and the where. So just make a quick jot down a note for yourself. How do you network and where can you network? I don't care if it's online or in person, we can talk about both. So how and where. And then I'll turn it over to Meg and say, I think we're going to take about 8 minutes this time and have you brainstorm some ideas, share about it, and then pick one person to share out. Bonus if it's not a staff member, if an individual student or alum is willing to share out, that's a bonus. Okay, Meg, I'll turn it over to you to pop open same groups if that worked. All right, welcome back. And I get a chance to hear from you now. Anybody willing to share out something that happened in your group? And like I said, it doesn't have to be our staff members. It doesn't have to be Darlene or Rebecca. If anybody else is willing to, like, you can physically just raise your hand. You can just unmute. Let's make this really casual. I hate formality in times like this. I'd rather be, yes, Kyle, kick us off.
Yes, I learned two really interesting facts. One was that MassArt's LinkedIn has 14,000 people, so that's really impressive to me because I went to a school in Boston that had about 10,000, and I think MassArt probably like my sister went to MassArt in the like late 2000s, but I think it probably has like 3,000 people or maybe 2,000. That's a guess, but I just think just number-wise proportionally, it was like wow. So I was happy about that.
14,000 friends, baby.
Yeah, that's right.
No, it's
Yeah.
really, it's powerful to know that many people are in this art and design community. You feel a lot less alone when you realize there's that many too.
Oh, I was just it that blew my mind, but I was like really happy to see that. And then the other thing was like someone said something that I don't know, maybe I think in the back of my head, but I don't voice it. And when you go to a networking event and you um maybe think you're not the best at it and you have to you kind of maybe self-evaluate during it.
Hmm.
And that can play a role. But yeah.
Do you think sometimes you're hard on yourself and yourself when you're self-evaluating? Is that what you're getting at?
I think a little bit because I might think like you meet someone who might be in you make a lot of you almost make hundreds of micro judgments within the span of 3 minutes where you might think this person might be the same age as me, this person might have gone to the same college as me, and but they're kind of way high up in their company. But on the other end of it is you're meeting them in the span of about 3 minutes, and it's a short window of time where you don't have full on background information about them. Um, so that's definitely something to consider. But there was another thought there that I want to make, but good.
Okay, well, I like this. We want to check ourselves about the assumptions we're making about others. Also, the assumptions we think they're making about us,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Oh, and also we might go into a networking event feeling this pressure and almost this disingenuousness, like, oh my God, I got to be perfect, or I've got to be this way. And I really think we can just be ourselves when we're in these. Yeah, you want to kind of prepare for them. We're going to talk a little bit about your pitch in a few minutes. Um, but if we can just kind of let go of expectations, I think we do better in these environments where we can just say, all right, I'm going to show up. I'm going to try and have some conversations and not put a lot of pressure on myself and just see what happens. I think that's a good approach. But let's hear from some other people about what were the how and the where for this networking. Any other ideas that are popping up in your groups?
Hi, I'm Pamela. I wanted to I have my camera off, I know, but
That's fine.
expecting to have to put it on tonight. Uh
Don't worry.
so one of the things I mentioned in my group is that I belong to a Networking Group USA is what it's called. And anybody can join. And they have different chapters throughout the state and I think the country. And what it is like you meet like twice a month with the group, and everybody's in their own industry. They're not all artists. It's actually most people are like either in they're lawyers. One was in real estate. There might be somebody like everybody's like entrepreneurs. They have their own business kind of thing. And you meet people outside of your network, like outside of like what you do, because I am a graphic designer. And my clients are not graphic designers, right? They're people who need design. So that's why I started going to that group and just meeting people who I don't know anything. I don't even know what they do, but I'm learning about like other industries and what they need. And just having conversations, like not necessarily trying to sell them anything, but just be listening and just learning from other people.
I love that.
Twice
Hmm.
Twice a month, you're getting this exposure, and like
Yeah.
you might not get it otherwise, right? And in the future, you never know how those connections can be helpful. And just learning about these other industries. And like you said, okay, well, what if I someday have to do some graphic design for a real estate agency or a lawyer or a finance firm? I've got a little tiny bit better of a sense Maybe at Mass Art, you're in a cocoon with all other artists. And now, oh gosh, you're not in an artist community and it might feel really different, but it might be really good to kind of learn that vibe too. So I love that recommendation. Thank you for that. All right. Anybody else want to pop one in? We're going to keep going in a minute, but I want to hear what else was happening in your conversations. And then, like I said, I'll give you a break from the camera so you can relax. But anybody else? Last chance. You can also pipe in later, but I'd love to hear now. If you only had, a tiny amount of time to network, where do you think you'd put your energy? Anybody want to say that? Because most of us only have a small amount left after everything else in life. What do you think would be one of your best resources for your time when you were talking in your small groups? Yeah, Kyle.
I would probably say your kind of like warm contacts. So those would be people that you've either know personally, like maybe they're your friends or your neighbors, or you went to school with and they were actually in classes with you, or you know them pretty well from your school. Or I would say people you worked with and or volunteered with, because I think they have a real sense of like, oh, okay, they were actually like this, and we know what they work like, and yeah, I'd say that. I first thought LinkedIn, but then I went to this. So
Yeah, well, LinkedIn is going to be a good resource too. But
yeah.
our warm leads, these people that might know us from class, or they're your next door neighbor, or somebody you worked with, they know you a little bit. And it's not just talking to them and maybe, they've heard of job openings, but it's also who's in their network.
Mm.
So in this example, if you're connected to your downstairs neighbor and you're connected to your classmate from last semester and you're connected to the 5 people you worked with, even in a part-time job, you can actually go on LinkedIn and see who they're connected to. And if you've got a particular company you're trying to get into, you can look up that company and see, oh, this person knows somebody who is there. So there's like, this does really matter, these warm leads. I think they're also a great opportunity to have some one-on-one conversations and ask them if they could help you brainstorm a little bit. Hey, you know me pretty well. I'm trying to think about my next move. I wonder if we could spend 10 minutes on the phone and we could do a little brainstorm. They might be able to be willing to help you, right? So there's lots of different ways that we can use those first level people, those people that you already know. And it's not just about them, it's about who they know. That's the big piece we want to keep in mind. And we'll talk about informational interviews a little bit later, but asking our sort of people we know well, if they know anybody that we could talk to that works as a graphic designer, as an illustrator, as an animation expert, as a filmmaker, that's going to be the real sweet spot, and have more of those kinds of conversations. Okay, so we're gonna say, don't worry if you want cameras off. I'm gonna go back into PowerPoint for a little while, but pop questions in, stay engaged, even come off mute randomly and go, hey, Sabrina, da 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 da. Listen, again, take away the formality or pretense, make this pretend like we're hanging out in our sweatpants in the dorm and we're talking, because that way you just don't have to worry and we just make this really useful. Okay, so let me jump back in and pick up where we left off on here. And hopefully I'll keep you awake. Won't get too boring here, but we already did this part, so I'm going to skip that. All right, let's think about these different, types of networking. So today's webinar is one example, but so is the industry and professional associations, alumni events, because some of you are graduating soon, and then you can be part of Darlene's alumni group. There's meetups, Eventbrites, Eventful. Here's some examples from Meetup, for example. I put in art, and this is some of the things that popped up. Eventbrite in Providence I put up because I live in Providence, Rhode Island, and I didn't know there was this annual hair show coming up, and this Newport has this fine art show and Art Battle Pawtucket. I'm not even sure exactly what that is, but it's happening May 2nd. So you might get surprised when you put in even just the word art and Eventbrite and have a chance to get exposure to venues and to people that you might not otherwise cross paths with. Okay. Now let's get really strategic and think about what kind of networking you might do both before and after a professional event or a conference or an industry event. So I did an AI search if I'm an illustrator, what conferences should I pay attention to? Pop into chat if you've ever heard of Adobe Max. Anybody heard of it? I'm thinking it's probably a pretty big session. So again, you can go and use generative AI to say, what are some events that are coming up for me? And this is my domain, my specialty, my space, and see. You don't just have to go to Eventbrite and go to other places with AI. All right, so let's keep going. Let's pretend like Adobe Max is something I'm going to go to in May or whenever this is. On their website, they're going to list the presenters. They're going to list these guest speakers. So I could, before this big event, Adobe Max, I could reshare a post about the event or a post that the presenter shared. Okay, so I've discovered these three presenters who I think are amazing, would be great contacts for me. But I'm shy and I can't believe that I'm never going to approach them, but maybe you would if you do this process. So you could reshare something to amplify their message. And then after you share the event, you could reach out and connect with them on LinkedIn and say, I appreciated your post about blank. I wanted you to let you know I'm coming to Adobe Max. I look forward to seeing your presentation. I'm giving you some really advanced steps here that not everybody does. It's really rare. And I think people are flattered before an event, even a student. Hey, I'm a current art student, but I am really interested in your work and your message. I'll be at Adobe Max. I look forward to your presentation. Okay. So then after it, you could send a message to the presenter and thank them for their presentation. Now, this could be also just a small event that's happening in Boston. You go to some kind of opening and you write back to the person who, had the opening and some of the artists, and you just say it was a great event. So glad I was there. Here's one more level to it. If you really want to make this connection and you really want it to be memorable, you could write up a little summary of 3 things you learned from that person at that presentation. Again, it doesn't have to be Adobe Max. It could be something that's just in Boston, something, a lecture at another university. Maybe Harvard's got some lecture, some artist that's really interesting to you. Or maybe there's something happening at the Cambridge Innovation Center and it's art and tech combined, So you write up this summary and you tag the presenter. Again, really memorable. And then later on, after you've done these things, you might be able to reach out and ask them for a 5 or 10-minute informational interview, which we'll talk about in a moment. But I just wanted to kind of give you this like wild idea and set you loose with it. And I'm reading a book, a Big Magic, and they're talking about to have a creative life, you have to be brave. So I think it's great that I'm reading this book and I can just say, you want a creative life, you are creative souls, and it's going to take a little courage and a little brave to do your art and to be paid for it and make this happen for yourself. Okay, so I hope that courage or being brave is a message you can take from tonight. Let yourself go for it. All right, here's an example. So really simple. Neha had never posted on LinkedIn before. She attended my event virtually about networking. She's a grad student at a school in California. So this is just an example of how she attended an event. She used hashtags. She copied me and the person that hired me. And then she used Canva to create the actual image. She reshared the key highlights. Check it out. She had 28 reactions and 8 comments. That was her first post. And with AI these days, you could take your notes from something, drop it in and say, turn this into the 5 best practices, even if messy notes. So it's not even very hard to do in a way. So I'm hoping I'm inspiring you with this, but let's keep going. So I'm kind of heavy on LinkedIn, and I know a lot of you are on Instagram and other more creative spaces, but I want you to know there are LinkedIn live events. In fact, I'm teaching one, when is it? April 29th on sleep strategies. If you want to check out a live event that's being broadcast on LinkedIn on April 29th, you can go to my LinkedIn profile and I think it'll be shared there. But anyway, so when these events happen, you can actually ask questions and comment. And then you can connect not just with the presenter, but with the people who were in on the event too. I had so much bantering back and forth with a fellow participant that I actually connected with her. And she's actually become kind of a mentor of mine, believe it or not. So this woman, Marty, was in a LinkedIn Live. I reached out to her afterwards because we've been bantering so much, connected with her, asked her for, 10 minutes of her time to chat with her because I need mentors too. We even met in person, incidentally, because we were both presenting at the same conference. So we even got to have dinner together about, 4 months after we met on LinkedIn. Just a coincidence, but kind of a fun one. Okay, carrying on. Ooh, I went too far. All right, we're going to pop up a quick poll, and I'm expecting this to be no. All right. If any of you do, I'll be really surprised because LinkedIn's kind of, like I said, pretty boring. But if we can pop up a poll real quick and you can just answer it and we'll just kind of see where we're at. But again, kind of expecting no. So let's just assume you're a no. You might say, all right, Sabrina, I'm going to do some LinkedIn stuff twice a month. Wednesday mornings, twice a month. I'm going to spend 10 minutes on there. I'm going to comment, I'm going to like some things, and I'm going to build up to sharing some of my own work on LinkedIn. When we did this session last year, someone tagged me and she shared a couple times on LinkedIn right after our session. And she got so much feedback, positive feedback about her work. So it was really cool to see, like, okay, you're an artist, you're a creative type, you can be even in this boring space of LinkedIn. All right, turning it back over to Meg, if you want to share out, or we can just end poll and share results if we want to do it. All right. We do have 2 people on there in our group that are doing a little bit. But again, I was expecting this, but I just wanted to kind of, take a moment to kind of say, hey, maybe we can do a little bit more on there. Think of it as a building block. All right. So here I was sharing once when I was doing some stuff right across the street from Mass Art. I've gone in person to Harvard Medical School to do some things with that group. So I tagged the person who hired me and just did this little post. I've also done posts that are really simple, just a concept. And you've heard me talk about this before, right? Shift gears, think about how can you add value for others. Being of service is an amazing and authentic way to grow your network. And I got a ton of likes. No picture involved, just that. Okay, let's check out some artists. So here is a furniture maker. I had the opportunity to design and build furniture for a client's home. And boom, these were some pictures. So artists are on here, illustrators are on here, furniture makers are on here. Here's another one. Don Paul was just kind of doing some doodles and just shared his drawings. Okay, here's another one, animation. This was a neat piece that was actually I found from Stanford Medicine. Okay, and even scientists are on here. This whatever this is, 3 photon imaging of mouse brain structure. I have no idea what it is, but had 30 likes and 3 comments. So all different types are on LinkedIn. Now, fun story. Jim Peacock is my first level connection. He was posting some handout, some resources from some guy named Byron. I was like, oh, great, remote work. I'm trying to put together a handout. Fantastic. I tagged Jim. I tagged this guy Byron because he wasn't a first level, but I could still tag him. I said this, thank you. I'm going to add it to my handout. Guess what? This was so cool. The next day, Byron sent me a connection request. So again, if you share other people's work first before you make an ask, they know who you are. They're going to appreciate you, right? Don't we always appreciate it when people share or reshare something we put up on any social media? So let's have this help work for you. Now, I could talk all day about networking if we had the chance, especially LinkedIn. I've done half-day trainings for career counselors on LinkedIn. There's so much there. But what I'm going to say to you all, and we can actually drop this link into chat. I think Rebecca's going to do that real quick so that you have access, but you can also just go to sabrina-woods.com, just kind of bookmark that, because you're going to see I've got a LinkedIn handout in here. And then later on, we're going to talk a little bit about informational interviews. So there's informational interview content in there too. Okay. Now, let's do another level for you and I, and for everyone here in this group. Let's connect on LinkedIn. So you're going to go grab your LinkedIn profile URL, whatever you just open up your profile, whatever you see up there at the top is your URL. And then we're going to dump in a Google Sheet that looks like this. And then by first name, if your first name is, you know, Adam, then it's going to go in the A to C. If it's Elizabeth, then you're going to go in the D to E. I just left space here. So I'm just going to pause for a second so that you can open that up. And I can go to it live so you can see this. Oh, maybe yeah. Oh, nope, that's the networking handout. Oh, I don't have it pulled up at the moment. I'm going to go back into PowerPoint because you can see it anyway. Okay, screen sharing has stopped. Let me go back in the regular way. So take a moment, go grab your LinkedIn URL and pull it in. I'm seeing him populate. This is great. Fantastic. And you also have access to Meg, Darlene, and Rebecca. I would absolutely connect with all of them. And you'll see I'm asking you to think about your target job title. And we will also later ask you if you're interested in, you know, practicing with each other for an info interview. You can add in your website or portfolio. We want to see each other's work too, which is great. Okay. So let me go back in. You can keep those going as I continue to share. But I love this part. I want to see you guys all connect to each other. Okay. Let's keep us going. If at any time you have questions, please pop them in the chat. But let's talk more about, remember I was talking about volleyball? So any kind of activity, sports, groups, this is just a great natural and fun way to grow your network. So is volunteering. I had an interesting experience once. I was doing some volunteering at, this is a long time ago, I was a ropes course and a rock climbing instructor a couple lifetimes ago. And I was doing some help with this particular retreat, and there was some rock climbing going on. So I was helping out. The person that was belaying, which is what you do with the ropes when you got people on belay to keep them safe, person next to me, we were just chatting. And then I found out they had this opening for this ropes course instructor. And I'd already knew the person. And I'm like, oh, wow, I got to go talk to her. And that's how I landed my job during grad school, was because someone, while I was volunteering, told me this place, St. Andrew's School, was looking for an outdoor education ropes course instructor. And I'd already done an informational interview with that person. So it was so cool that I happened to get that information. So you never know what's going to happen when you're volunteering. Okay, now, this is where you all decide to leave the webinar because no one likes to do this. And I'm going to try and make it as less painful as possible by breaking it up. But when we go into a networking space, or we go into a space where we're meeting people for the first time, it's really great if we think in advance on how we want to introduce ourselves. And there's this super corny phrase called elevator pitch, because it's sort of meant to be like, how long in an elevator? You only have a minute or two in an elevator to talk to somebody. So it's just meant to be a short quip kind of thing. But here's a quick kind of list. You can talk about what you do, what you're targeting, some of your strengths, career-related interests, past jobs. There's a whole bunch of different things that you can kind of add into the mix. But let's just give you a simple example. Actually, we're going to also upload this worksheet, and it was emailed to you. You don't even have to use the worksheet. But in case it helps you, you can think in terms of your name, where you've been, something about your past, and where you're going, what you're targeting, right? So if that helps you, you can grab the worksheet. Okay. I alter how I introduce myself depending on my audience, and I want you to think that way as well. But I'll often tell people that I'm a holistic career coach, that I help people with major career transitions, often later in life or midlife. And then in my training work, I integrate career and well-being by teaching things like mindfulness, interviewing, salary negotiation, and I'm in the process of moving towards bringing some of this well-being content into corporate and nonprofit settings so that I'm not just working with within university settings. Okay, so that's in a way I would introduce myself at a networking event. Okay, let me just give you kind of another one. So I might say, oh, my background's in environmental science. You know, in the past, I've mostly worked on more the finance side, budgeting and payroll, but I'm, interested in pursuing some more like program coordinator, program development. And I'd like to target more in the climate change and environmental justice area. And, in my spare time, one of my favorite things to do is kayak. How about you? What's your work involve, or what do you like to do outside of work? That would be something that people might say when they meet at a lecture or at a gallery or at a professional association meeting. So we want you to take 3 minutes, jot down some ideas, use that sheet or use this list. Okay. Can't remember if I've got one more. Yep, here's that worksheet. So use that. Take 3 minutes. I'm going to time it. Don't run away. Just take a moment. Oh, we've only got 15 minutes left. So I'd love to have you take a moment and work on this right in session. I'm going to pause, set my timer, and go. Leave that list up. So you can either use the worksheet or you can use what's on the screen, whichever way feels better for you. I'll interrupt and I'll say one of the things I really like is this experiences that fueled your interest. What's behind your passion in a certain thing? Is there a story behind why you chose this particular area within mass art, this major, this concentration, or led to this particular career if you're an alum? Because stories are memorable and stories are a great way to connect with people. So there could be a backstory to why you chose the path that you're on. If I chose to go into an artistic field, it would probably be photography. And I have early memories of being in the darkroom with my grandfather. He had a black and white darkroom, and he developed these pictures, and I thought it was magical. So I would tell the story of my being with my grandfather and standing on a stool so I could watch as the images come to life. That would be a great way for me to explain how I got my start and where I was inspired by. Okay, I'm gonna be quiet and still give you got another 45 seconds. Great, that's time. Now I get to ask for people to be brave, courageous. If anybody's willing to say, maybe you got 3 sentences, maybe you've got 2, maybe you've got a paragraph, maybe you got some odds and ends ideas about a story. You can either just chat with me or you could type it into the chat box if you're feeling like, oh, I don't want to say this out loud. So I'm going to leave it for a second and see if anybody's willing. You get my help if you decide you want to share it, if we feel like maybe we can make it even better. I'll do a stop sharing here so we can kind of see just me and we can talk. And I can tell if anybody wants to kind of say.
Well, I'm open to like, are you asking us to kind of like give like the like pitch we like or like the introduction we made?
Even walk me through it. You don't have to pretend you're giving it even. You could just say, here's some
Okay.
ideas. You want to try it, Sam?
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Awesome.
So
Okay.
yeah, my name's Sam Stroney. To go over a little bit of what I've like done in the past, I've worked in product design for tech companies. I currently run a small printmaking business. And yeah, right now my goal is to find more opportunities to create interactive experiences. Yeah, and I just really enjoy creating fun products for people to interact with.
All right. Love this. So working in product design, I have a side small print making business, and then like creating interactive experiences. And I like just that you add, I really have fun creating these experiences for people. That's really good. And so what would you say? I'm going to ask one kind of clarifying question. Are you in sort of the job exploration? Maybe there's something else I want sooner or later-ish, or is it more like, I want more partners, or I want more people to hire me for the print making business? Say a little bit about your career, about your aspiration in this moment in time, Sam.
Okay, yeah, my goal is to currently find a new role for myself,
Okay.
specifically in like the product design world.
Okay, great. So it's going to depend on the setting, right? But in some settings, you can even say, oh, I'm on the lookout for a new product design role at some point when I see the right team to work with or the right product. You could say something like that. Now, I was with somebody. I brought her along to a networking event once, and she was like, yeah, my employer's in the room, so I have to be really careful. She knew this was probably going to be the case, and she could still be there as an individual employee, whatever. But she had to be really careful that her colleague wasn't within earshot, as she said to people kind of on hush hush, I'm on a covert job search. My employer's here, but I just am I'm at the stage where I want to grow a little bit more beyond what I can do in this position. So that was kind of a nice way to put it. So yeah, Sam, if you're in a room where you can actually say that, it's totally okay to say it in this kind of casual way. I'm on the lookout for other opportunities because I'm always wanting to grow and challenge myself. And, so I'll just say that in case anybody's ever heard about, if you or anyone ever hears anything. Yeah. So
Okay.
great stuff. This is good. So I like that it was, we want this to be us, can't be contrived. It can be super casual. So many of our settings are really casual, so you don't want it to sound stilted and too formal. But I hope what tonight does is make you actually think about it before you walk into an event. Like, oh, I should probably think about what I'm going to say here. And I'll tell you a side story. I worked at Northeastern, right down the street from Mass Art for a long time. And we were in this big meeting, and everybody was coming around saying their name, what department they're in. No one did this extra piece, but I did this one extra piece. And I said something about, and I have a personal interest in mindfulness or something like that. Somebody at the meeting came up afterwards and was like, "Da-da-da-da-da." And so anyway, just me adding this little bit of extra to my introduction allowed me to connect with people that had an overlapping interest. That's why at the start, I wanted to get you to share hobbies. That's why in the networking bingo, I wanted you to kind of share some of those other things that make you an interesting human, because we want to bring those into these networking moments, because you're not just your work or your academics, you're a whole person. And often that's what helped make people click. Wow, that's interesting. I want to hear more about that, whatever that is. Is that helpful to hear this? Hopefully it is. Anybody else want to ask a question? I have not been looking in chat. Okay, I don't think I see anything in chat there. Just leaving it open. You can also ask a random question that has nothing to do with this pitch or introduction topic. No, we're good. Okay, I know I've only got 8 minutes left, so I'm going to keep us going. We're going to talk a little bit about informational interviews. And then I think it's a wrap up, but let me just see. Let's see what I have next. Oh, I had one more pitch example, but because I wanted to use this because it answers the why I do this work. And I know this is completely different than an artist, but it's still relevant. I'm currently a research scientist doing work related to autoimmune diabetes at Mass General Hospital. 2 of my siblings have diabetes, so that got me interested, and I'm fascinated by this research. And then the closing. So that's the why. That's how this person became interested in this work. So again, whenever you can say your why or connect it back to the story, like the grandfather, like being with my grandfather in the dark room. Okay. Informational interviews. Okay. Actually, let me go back to the slide for a second. Pop into chat. You could say, I've heard of it, or you can say, yes, I've done one, or no, haven't heard of it. It gives me a quick idea of where you're at with it in our last couple of moments here. So it's a no, or yes, I've heard of it, or yes, I've done one, just to kind of say, oh, where are you at? It's probably my number one tool that I will recommend for job search. And in a minute, you're going to hear it's a reverse interview where you're interviewing someone to learn about the culture of a company, a career path, what does it take skill-wise to do this work? Maybe it's like, oh, do I need this additional certification? What do people in this role typically look for when they're hiring, et cetera, et cetera. So just looking at chat real quick to see what people are saying. Okay, we've got a mix here. We've got people that have done them, haven't done one, but I heard of it. I've done one. I've done a few, haven't yet. Yes, I've done them, haven't done, but I've heard of it. Okay, so a handful of you have done these before. Lots of different conversations, topics. It can be for a specific career path or making a change. Oh, I started out in this one field and now I'm doing this other. One of my favorite reasons to do an informational interview is also what's happening in my industry, what's happening in this sector. Things are at such a rapid pace of change, and especially within technology, and especially within art and technology and AI and all of these things, right? So intense, the amount of change we've seen even in the last couple of years. So that could make for a really good excuse to talk to people. The idea behind informational interviews is you have a conversation with someone. Maybe Darlene introduces me to someone who's at NYU and I'm interested in maybe moving to New York and being a career coach there. And I have a conversation about, oh, what is NYU doing in their career center related to AI? And then 3 months later, there's a career counselor or career coach position open. I've had a conversation with someone there. I can reach back out to them. They might even forward my resume into the hiring manager because they know who I am. Informational interviews are a way for you to plant seeds, and some of them are going to pay off right away. Others never. And then others might pay off a couple of years from now. So know that it is my number one tool. It's also the most ambiguous. You're like, oh, you can feel like you're wasting your time. But again, this is how I see my clients landing positions. It's because they're talking to people, they're meeting people at events, having follow-up conversations, and doing these one-on-one conversations. Okay, so as mentioned, I have resources on my website about how do you make the ask and informational interview questions to ask. I'm also big on using AI for this. I like perplexity.ai, ChatGPT also, but you could go in and you could say, oh, I've got an informational interview with somebody at, I don't know, just a particular company. They can help you craft informational interview questions for that position at that organization, make it really specific. You could do some research using AI before you go into that informational interview. What's been current happening at that organization? All right, so lots of ways to get AI into the mix. My last and final question. Oh, I timed this unusually well because we have 3 minutes left. I got lucky. I'm going, phew, I want to know what you're going to do next. So it could be you connect with a fellow participant from today, not just on LinkedIn, but you say, hey, can we practice an informational interview? I'll pretend I'm interviewing you for 5 minutes. You can do it with me just to make it easier, feel comfortable. You can develop your pitch a little further, attend more events, post on LinkedIn, ask for informational interviews. Now, I was going to do annotate again, but we know it's not working. So what we're going to do, we're going to have you look at this list, pop into chat. Listen, I'm a coach. One of the things I do is help my clients set micro goals. When you type something and others witness it, even if they're not going to follow up with you, it has a little more power. You've decided what you're going to do next. You're more likely to execute on it. And that's one of the things I wish I could do is see you next week and bug you and find out, did you do any of these? So pop open chat. Think about which of these things might you be willing to do, or something we mentioned that you that you don't see on these 5 going across. Doesn't have to be one of these 5. Could be something else. So I'm going to pause, help you think about what are you taking away from this that you might do because you came today. Now, we'll give you 30 seconds to think about that. And I'll let Rebecca pick some comments out and share out as they're starting to come in.
Sure. Kyle's going to work on his pitch. Sam's going to find more informational interviews and start conversations. Rhea is going to update her LinkedIn profile. More informational interviews and portfolio work. Yeah.
Good. All right. Everybody's got a next step.
Yeah.
I love that. And if you haven't done so yet, you can grab that LinkedIn URL. And this is also encouraging you to connect with at least 3 people or everyone from today. And then if you had any questions, but I'm going to just do the stop share so we can kind of come back. We have another 60 seconds or so. And I'll just ask, anybody have any final thoughts, final questions? Or how are you feeling? Does this feel like, I got at least something out of it? I hope it felt worthwhile and not too boring. That's my hope. Yeah. Any questions or comments? Feel free. And just come off mute. Again, we're really informal here.
I will say, even though like obviously this is run through Mass Art, I was a little bit in a way surprised that in the spreadsheet everyone said kind of like artist, designer, painter. But no, that makes sense too. And I'd say it was cool to go to an event where most people had a portfolio, because I think I've gone to events where like that hasn't happened, and it's a little different, but
It's kind of exciting, right? You feel like you're with your people in this case. Here's the other thing, since Cal brought it up. Maybe pick a couple people, look at their portfolio, and when you connect with them on LinkedIn, make a comment. It's like, hey, I really liked that piece you did on page blank of your portfolio. We don't get enough recognition in this world. We don't pause to share what's good. And there's enough stuff that's challenging right now. We need to counter it with appreciating. And you can't let art and design go away. This is so important in our world. So yeah, that's my last thing, is recognition. Notice other people's work, comment on it. And maybe you can have a deal with one of the people today. Hey, I'm going to post something on LinkedIn, which is so boring, but I'm going to do it. Will you comment on it? Because I feel uncomfortable putting art up. Be nice to, have a friend that's going to say, hey, well done. Okay. 8:32. So we are at time. I'll turn it back over to Rebecca, and I will just say a big thank you all for showing up. I really appreciated your participation. I love that I get to do this work with you. I just don't get to work with artists enough, and in this space where people are willing to share and show up, and I just really appreciated it. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Sabrina. Thank you so much for this workshop. We're going to wrap up. I do want to pass it to Darlene, who wants to, we have some upcoming alumni events, which may be of interest. And so I'll let her take it from here.
So you can
Hi,
practice your
everyone.
pitch, right?
Yes.
I'm just going to say a couple of things first, and then we do have some events coming up that I'd love to let you know about. Mostly that as a Mass Art student and an alum, you're already part of a really robust creative network. Your network is the Mass Art community here on campus, faculty, staff, students, as well as our alumni network. And there are over 22,000 alumni of Mass Art worldwide. And I just looked up on, and I was saying how many people I saw on the LinkedIn or thought were on the LinkedIn. I thought there were 14,000 alums, but 16,000 of our alums are actually on our Massachusetts College of Art and Design LinkedIn, and there are 24,000 followers. So it's a great place to research folks. Also, you know, there are lots of events, visiting artist talks, professional development events, our Mass Art Museum. They have openings and events all the time. Great way to meet people. And also there are a lot of professional creative organizations in the Boston area. I know Kyle mentioned the American Marketing Association. There's also the Industrial Design Society of America, IDSA. I believe they have a Boston chapter. And I know that AIGA, the American Institute of Graphic Arts, which is a communication design professional organization, has a Boston chapter. And actually the current president of AIGA is a Mass Art alum, and he just so happens to be part of a panel that we're doing on Thursday night this week from 7 to 8:30 p.m. It's called Real World Career Advice Alumni Panel. It's going to be a virtual event. I'm going to actually paste it into the chat right now, but in the thank you email that'll be going out from Meg and Rebecca, we're going to have a list of a few events that are coming up. But definitely come. It's for alums, even if you're not a designer. They're going to talk about their careers, how they landed their first jobs, how they network, how they have been mentors to people, what they see in the industry for creatives moving forward. And Dan Vlahos is the person who's the president of AIGA Boston. He's going to talk about the importance of being a part of a professional organization. So if you're interested, join us. I always love to hear people's stories. I find them so inspiring. We do have a couple of other events that are coming up. Let me get to that. I'm just going to paste them in. Also, next Tuesday at 2 p.m. in the Posen Center here at Mass Art, Dave Schlafman, who is a design leader at Netflix, is going to be giving a talk to the illustration and sim students and faculty, but we're opening it up to the Mass Art community as well. We're actually just kind of getting the posters together for it, but you're all more than welcome to attend that. That's in person, and just show up at the Posen Center. And there's a few other things. For those of you who are graduating class of 2025, we're going to have a celebration brunch in the Posen Center on May 21st. It's a champagne brunch, and you'll get your Mass Art swag when you sign up for the alumni community. We're hosting a Mass Art Alumni Maker Weekend on May 30th through June 1st. Registration is currently open for that. You can find all of this information also on the massart.edu events calendar on our website. And we do an annual alumni retreat to Haystack Mountain School of Crafts in the fall, and that's a 4-day retreat on Deer Isle. So that's a lot of fun as well. So always just even stay tuned to our events on campus, because there's always something going on at Mass Art. You know, if you're feeling like you really want to network with some people, and like Sabrina knows, everybody knows somebody. And if you say, hey, I'm interested in this, somebody might be able to connect you with somebody else. So those are my parting thoughts.
Amazing. Darlene, so many good events. Oh, this is a really good warm up to all of those. Fantastic.
Yeah. So I wish you all luck in your career search, and stay connected and keep us posted on what you're doing.
And you're always welcome to use career development, whether you're a current student or alum, if you need help with your resume, help with an informational interview or interview, kind of mock interview, cover letters, just strategy about your career search. You can make an appointment with us, and we're here to help as well.
That's great. Lots of resources.
Thank you.
All right.
All again, thank you for coming, and we will be sending out an email probably tomorrow with some of the stuff that we mentioned resource-wise. So look for that.
Great. Take care all.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks for
all.
coming.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good night. Thank you.